Annyeonghaseyo, and good afternoon from Malaysia to President Guk Young, from DGIST, President Cho Dong Sung from Incheon National University, Professor So Yu Ho, the Pro Vice Chancellor and Professor, and also the President of the University Rankings Forum of Korea, to all the respected presidents, vice presidents, and delegates to the 12th University Rankings Forum in Korea. Thank you for inviting me and for inviting Taylor's University to share some of our experiences with you today. Let me start by saying that my university is 10 years old, so it's a fairly young university, and we have much to learn from our colleagues in South Korea and look forward to meaningful collaboration with the various universities that are present in the URFK forum today. Korea has a very vibrant university education system, and it is an honor for me and for my university to share the same virtual stage with top leaders and professors in the 12th URFK. I was asked to speak about best practices and opportunities in university ranking. So what I will do is I will give you a very brief outline of the Malaysian higher education landscape, and then I'll speak about how universities have participated in rankings in Malaysia. And then I will talk specifically about QS rankings in Malaysia and for Taylor's and why we chose QS rankings. And then finally share with you some reflections on rankings that I personally feel. So the Malaysian higher education landscape. Malaysia has a very vibrant education system as well, just like South Korea. We have 284 public institutions, and these are made up of 20 public universities or state-funded universities, 34 polytechnics which are also funded by the government or the state, and we have 230 public colleges or institutions funded by the government. But you will see that we have twice the number of private institutions. We have 54 private universities. We have 37 private university colleges and 10 international university branch campuses and 339 private colleges. So it's interesting to see that in this whole mix of public and private universities and colleges, we have some who are research universities. There are 5 research universities in Malaysia. Some of them are technical or niche universities that specialize in programs in a specific discipline. Most of them are comprehensive universities, like Taylor's University is a comprehensive university. And you will find that among the private universities, there are private universities that are owned by the government or linked by government-owned agencies, but there are also non-government linked universities. So the government has an active interest or stake even in the private university sector. For example, different states in Malaysia actually own their own universities, but it is considered a private university, so we call them a government-linked university. But Taylor's University is a comprehensive, non-government-linked, for-profit university. Now, in Malaysia, all these institutions, all of them have to be accredited by a national agency called MQA, or the Malaysian Qualifications Agency. We also, all the private universities, all these private universities have to be rated by the qualifications agency. So we have a rating system the highest being 6-star rating, and then you have 5-star, 4-star, and so on and so forth. For colleges, there is a MyQuest rating system. So we have a very established rating mechanism for universities in Malaysia. Ranking, however, is optional. To give you a sense, Malaysia has a total of 1,326,000 students enrolled in higher education courses, out of which about 666,000 are enrolled in private higher learning institutions. So you can see that the private universities actually cater for more than 50% of the higher education needs in the country. We also have close to 100,000 international students. The ministry and the government has actually recognized private higher education as an industry that contributes 31.5 billion ringgit in tuition fees and cost of living, and another 11.3 billion contribution from international students into the country. So this is just to give you a sense of the foreign university branch campuses. You can see some of them are very well known names from the UK, from Australia, and even one from China, Xiamen University, that have branches in Malaysia. And this table gives you a sense of the number of international students. These are not all the countries. We have international students from over 100 countries. China would be our biggest source country, followed by Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan. We also have a sizable number of students from South Korea in studying here in Malaysia. So the government's goal is that by 2025, private higher education will be a high impact industry, and they target a 65 billion contribution to the GDP and have about 300,000 international students. And in 2030, this is expected to grow to about 84 billion. So it is a very vibrant and very exciting industry that we have here in Malaysia. Now, when we talk about university rankings in Malaysia, there is a very strong political will to push universities into rankings by Malaysia's ministers of higher education, particularly the previous two ministers that actually lifted restrictions on private institutions, introduced university rating systems, and set internationalization as a priority. But this particular minister is the one that really pushed all universities to go for international rankings to promote internationalization. Now, how are Malaysian universities faring? I think we are getting there. These are the 5 top research universities that are owned by the government. They are state-funded universities. So we participate in the QS ranking. They also participate in the Times Higher Education ranking, the US News ranking, and the Shanghai Academic ranking of world universities. And as you know, each of these rankings have its own focus, but the government has officially declared QS to be the ranking that they want every university to follow. The others are actually optional. And you can see that in the QS rankings, as of this year, we have 12 public universities, 4 private universities, and 4 government-linked universities in the QS ranking. In the Times Higher Education World University ranking, there are 9 public universities and 4 government-linked universities. In Shanghai, the 5 public universities are ranked. And in the US News Global Universities ranking, we have 9 public universities. So private universities in Malaysia, like Taylor's, have mostly focused on the QS ranking. But over time, we will eventually get ourselves into the Shanghai, the Times, and also the US News. For example, Taylor's is already ranked in the Shanghai academic ranking for hospitality and tourism for 2021. Now, I'll talk a little bit about QS rankings in Malaysia and also Taylor's. So you will see that from 2016, when the government pushed Malaysian universities to go into the ranking, we had initially 8 universities, and this has now increased to about 20 universities in 2021. And as a percentage, you can see Malaysia is there, about 16.5% of Malaysian universities are already ranked in QS. And you can see that in 2021, the Malaysian universities marked the greatest improvement among all countries. 8 Malaysian universities in the top 500 improved by an average of 42.4%. And among 8 Malaysian universities, Taylor's alone contributed a remarkable average increase of 13.2 ranks towards the national average. And you can see that for the QS 2021, Malaysia is one of the top 3 improvers. Now, we also focus on the Asian rankings, and there are more. There are about 29 Malaysian universities that participate in the Asian rankings, and that's about 24% of all universities in Malaysia. So as we speak, more and more universities are interested to come into the QS ranking, and we expect the competition to be more exciting and stiffer. Now, for Taylor's University, as I mentioned earlier, we focus on the world university rankings and the Asian university rankings under QS. And I'll tell you in a minute why we chose QS. We are an institution that is about 50 years old. We started as a college in 1969. And today we are a full university with our own campus. We have only a single campus. We call it the Lakeside campus. And we achieved university status in 2010. And so we are about 10 years old as a university. Despite that, since 2016, you will see how we began our journey in the QS star rating system. And then we started with the Asian university rankings. And by 2020, we were 5 stars in 6 categories. We were ranked 109 in Asia, 511 to 520 in the world ranking. For 2021, we have improved to 379 in the world ranking. In the top 50 under 50, we were 81 to 90 in 2020. And for 2021, we entered the top 50 under 50 at number 49. At the same time, we are ranked, we are the highest ranked business management program in the country. We are also the highest ranked hospitality and leisure management in the country. And we believe that we are right now the 3rd in Asia for hospitality and leisure management, and 16th in the world for this particular discipline. We just received the 6th QS star for online learning. This is a new rating that QS introduced, so we are quite proud of that. And of course, we believe that come November this year, we will enter the top 100 in Asia. We were 109 last year, so we believe that we will achieve the top 100 rating by the end of this year. So we started with the stars, but you can see that we have decided consciously to go into the rankings by region, by subject, by context, by mission, and by type. So this is a choice that we have made in order to maximize the benefit or the value of ranking internally within the university and also externally from the perception of other universities, the countries, the government, as well as the public. So we chose QS because we found that QS best suits the country's current higher education state. Many of our universities are still fairly young, and QS allows us to enter into the ranking, the world rankings, in a way that that makes sense for universities in Malaysia. We decided to focus on one ranking league table to get everyone in the university to be familiarized with ranking criteria. And we believe that once we are familiarized, we will be able to draw in more partnerships and collaborations. And today, I hope that we will be able to establish more potential partnerships and collaborations with the various universities from Korea who are at this forum. And then we intend to further embark and improve on other rankings. And hopefully through this, we ultimately improve the entire higher education system in Malaysia. So I mentioned we are third in Asia for the 2020 World University Rankings by subject in hospitality. We expect to improve this further this year. We expect to be in the top 10 in the world. We also are the highest ranked for business and management studies among the private business schools in Malaysia. We are ranked fourth in the world for graduate employability rankings in 2019. So these are the kind of graduate employability rate. And we have defined graduate employability rate as a key focus of the university. We are very clear, we are a comprehensive university. We are a learning and teaching university. We are not a research university. So I think it was very important for us to be very clear as we enter the rankings game to not lose the identity of who we are. And I'll explain that in greater detail shortly. So how did we put a single focus on graduate employability rankings? We have a very comprehensive career services center that has won many awards. It has a comprehensive support service for students, a very strong employer network, a very strong design to prepare students for work, and very specialized career services personnel. For 4 years in a row, we were the Career Center of the Year among private universities in Malaysia. Now, I will now move to some of my reflections on rankings, and I hope you find this useful. And probably many of you will relate to these rankings as well. My own personal view is that rankings are increasingly influential across the world, but they are poorly understood. And I wanted to sort of clarify why they are poorly understood, because people tend to see rankings as you know, maybe it's a game. It's not something that's sustainable. But I have a slightly different belief. I believe that rankings, the purpose of ranking is to build a relative prestige and power for the institution. It helps the institution establish a hierarchical relation with other institutions. And also for the country, it helps the government of the country establish how much higher education in this country has progressed relative to other countries. So this is very important if we want to attract international students into the country. For the government and even for the leadership of the university, ranking is an opportunity to set an agenda for the university. And for the government especially, it is a means of stratifying the national higher education system. You've seen how we have more than 121 universities in the country. And I believe the president of INU spoke about 400 odd universities in Korea. And ranking actually allows,
it's 1 o'clock.
It allows the institution to sort of break away from the rest of the pack. And most importantly, it helps in normative adaptation. It helps to bring all the different universities up to a normal standard or a normal level. It definitely is a tool for allocation of resources, for budgets within the university or even the national education budget. We found that increasingly sponsors, companies and agencies and government sponsors are dependent on whether the institution is ranked. The same for loans. More and more agencies around the world and in our country is using ranking as a means to determine who they would sponsor students to and who they would give loans to. At the same time, it imposes a degree of accountability on public funds, especially for the public universities. And this is my favorite. I believe that more and more as we move into the future, the market across the world will become more and more fixated on league tables. We are already experiencing this with our international students. Our university has about 12,000 students, about 3,500 are international students, and many of them choose us because of our ranking. It helps promote the country as an education hub, for sure. It enhances our reputation with other universities and also with employers, because we found increasingly employers saying that we want to get students from Taylor's because you are highly ranked. So it does help in employer reputation. It does help allocate institutional resources. It does help attract and retain faculty quality faculty. And of course, it because of the partnership and collaboration with other universities, it helps increase research productivity, as well as international collaboration and network. In Taylor's, we found since we began this journey in 2016, that the local and international enrollments were much higher compared to non-ranked universities in terms of percentage of annual growth a year. I mentioned that employers select universities increasingly from top universities that are ranked. And this is also one of my favorite. We found that by being ranked highly, there is pride and loyalty within the university community to ourselves. And here I show you some examples of how governments are reviewing the allocation of public universities. Student loans are given using ranking, and how universities are promoting themselves, or even using rankings, and how internships are now dependent on how well ranked you are. And then you tend to get better companies provide internship. Now, I mentioned that at the same time, there is some negative remarks about university rankings and whether or not we should bother about it. Now, I feel that rankings are very important, but I want to share with you, if at all there are downsides, I think it is the university that creates the downside for itself. You must understand that rankings are an example of mobilization of bias over time. In order to rank across country, across many countries and across continents around the world, there are certain focus areas they look at. They look at research, they look at citation, they look at academic reputation, they look at employability. And if we are not careful, and if we focus only on these areas, there is a tendency for us to lose focus on other important areas. Rankings reinforces and persistently promotes particular practices and beliefs until they become accepted norms. And rankings do not consider that, in actual fact, there are wide global variations in resources, in the different states of development of different countries, and within universities in a country. There is different national histories, tradition, languages, cultures. Unfortunately, ranking doesn't consider all this. So there is a tendency, if we are going into rankings, for us to be dragged into a common game and follow the template of globally dominant universities. And ranking does not help measure the distinctiveness of your own university, your university's mission and values. And there is less attention to improving access to students, increasing affordability of high quality education, of community development, social justice. So I would advise that we should join the ranking game, but never lose sight of our own identity, of who we are, why we exist, and what makes us unique. And we should choose a ranking table or a rating that suits our university's mission. And for us in Taylor's, our mission is really around graduate employability in the fourth industrial revolution. And while we focus on ranking, there is an equal focus in the university to prepare our students to be broad-based learners, to enjoy flexible learning and personalized learning, to focus on their own skills that will make them successful in life and their emotional well-being. So in short, in Taylor's, the real mission is not ranking. The ranking is probably the end, but the means to the end is about how we prepare our students with future-ready skills that have all these competencies. And you can see there are so many initiatives in the university, focused initiatives that goes towards preparing students with to get these skills so that they become future-ready. So, and at the end, our goal is to allow our students to graduate with 2 academic and non-academic awards. One that is a testimony to their curricular strength, and the other a testimony to their extracurricular strength. So we call it the dual transcript in Taylor's. So I will stop here with the final words to say that I believe that ranking is very useful, but it must not completely consume us and make us forget about our own identity and our own mission that allows us to be distinctly different from other universities. Because if we're just too focused on ranking, we become overly standardized and we enter into a common game. But the future is really about how we differentiate ourselves as a university, and that differentiation is what makes us unique and what makes our academic and employer reputation continue to rise. So I've provided my contacts. I want to thank the organizers, and I want to thank all the delegates. I may be standing between you and your lunch, so I'm so sorry for keeping you for a very long time. But thank you very much.